So we got the 63 convertible Nova SS project in here today. Backed her in. I'm going to try to finish up a bunch of work on the back end of this thing, get the bumper mounted, get the gas tank in, which did show up. And I've got an original filler neck, which we're obviously going to have to modify because we moved the hole, which used to be on the side. And we're going to throw that back here in the taillight section. And then I also ordered another filler neck with the cap and a mounting flange and everything for a newer style car, which actually has the whole box and everything, which I think will work very nicely back in that hole. And then I've got the right here. Oh, that's way too close. The strap's all bent up to put the tank in. So when you look at it, I can go right or left with that tank before I strap it. So I think I'm gonna put some tape on those straps so I don't scratch up this nice tank, and get it loosely strapped in so I can still move it right and left a little bit. And then we're gonna open up the trunk, go up top, start drilling holes, cutting, fabricating, and getting these filler necks in to fit. Clean up around the edge, drill a couple holes so we can mount it, and we're good to go. Okay, I've got my bezel built, all tacked in here. Ready to hold the filler neck in place, and then we'll go up underneath here and start making some connections. So we've got the gas hole in place. Looks freaking fantastic. Like it's always been in there. I think we made a really good choice with the filler neck that we picked. So it wasn't much. Cut out a little bracket with the arc droid. Got it all tacked and welded in. Just looks like it's always been in there. We're waiting on the LED lights to come so that we can actually work on the hinge, but I do have a game plan together for that. I cut a hole out of the floor. Later this will get riveted in and we'll put a gasket around where the filler neck goes through. And then I've got an extra hole there for the breather so that we've got good venting going on with that. So that is pretty much handled. So we are going to move on to this big empty spot along on the bottom here while I wait for the LED lights to show up and do the hinge for that. I got all of the bracketry, everything off of the back of the bumper. They do fit on the car really well. So Amy is blasting the big brackets and everything for it. We're gonna weld them right to the bumper instead of using the bolts, fill all those bolt holes and everything. And then there are a couple of holes down there, bottom right, bottom left. That bolt just goes through right into the bumper. Super simple. So we'll put it on, off, get it fitted. I will run the flap wheel around this edge here. Make sure this whole top edge here and around the side lines up really nicely around here. So yeah, I think we're good. I'm gonna go check on those, see if they're blasted and ready, get this welded up, set on the car, and we can spin this thing around and start playing with some fun stuff up front. So we've got a whole ton of extra little things, same thing we had with the Firewall, just extra screws, holes, stamped pieces, all this stuff in this core support that I don't need, but I do want to use the core support. I've got a couple of holes up front that I need to open up so they fit on the DSE a little bit better, and then this front edge needs a little work. I might have to actually trim it on the DSE part so that this just slides in, bolts up really nice. But I'm going to go ahead and get these two cut off, use them as a pattern to just make a flat piece, and then we'll put a little bead roll in it like we've got on the Firewall over there on the car, and that'll all match and look nice. Most of this you're not even going to see once the car's together. You might see a little bit of these stamped pieces from the front through the grill. But I'm really doing it so I have a nice flat place to mount stuff, because we're gonna have to hide a lot of stuff on this. The electrical box, the overflow tank, all of that stuff is gonna have to hide on this inside the engine bay underneath the cover that we're making for the radiator. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that knocked out quick. I left the holes where the radiator mounts and left the flange in the holes where the inner fenders mount. So we should be all good. I'm gonna go ahead and make these out of new piece sheet metal. Alright, went ahead and traced these on some new 20 gauge. Head over here, trace these. Maybe. Don't know if you'll be able to see what I'm doing over there, but this is my piece with the trace marks on it. So got these pretty well fitted in here. A little bit of fine tuning to do. Run the flap wheel around the edge, get some of this KBS and this paint off. we'll get these tacked in. All right, there's one side all tacked in, flush, level, ready to go. So now we'll slowly go back, fill in all the gaps. We'll grind it smooth, but I'll work on this, do one pass, and then come over here, work on this side for a little bit. And then I'll go back, do another little pass over here, go back over on this side until it's all good, cool, keep it from getting all warped up. And we can move on to getting this motor out of here. Motor is out. We got the shimming and all the adjustments done on the DSE front end. Everything fits perfectly now. The core support all modified and ready. So now I'm going to pull this front end back off again, and we're going to start getting this firewall welded up and done. This is the spot right here where the steering column goes, so I'm going to go ahead, cut that out and flare it out so it matches what's already in there. Tab. So pretend this is the firewall. I'll tack that on here, facing up. Then you can just run whatever wiring straight through here. Bend this closed to hold it. So we'll do like, I don't know, 5 or 6 of these across the firewall. A few on that new fender. Ready to go in. The main firewall piece is now welded into place. I got the opening done for the steering column to come through. This is all in, ready to go. I got my little tabs in there to keep the wires up and neat inside under the dash. I'm going to, you can see the wiper motor up in there. I need to build a bracket from the bottom of that wiper motor over to the firewall, but I think first I'm going to finish up this doghouse. This is the second to the last piece. Got it all fitted. I'm actually gonna go, I'm gonna try anyway. I might end up switching my mind, but I'm gonna go inside and weld it from the inside, and then I'll come out here and weld a couple little pieces on the bottom. But I think it'll just come out cleaner if I can pull it off that way. And then there's one last little piece to connect the tunnel up underneath. So I'm gonna go in there, move the welder over, and start throwing sparks around this freaking place. Firewall is finally completed. They're all good and sanded, everything's sealed up. Got the nice little arc and bends that I wanted, and those were not easy. I managed to do it in 3 pieces, but yeah, it took me pretty much all day yesterday to get that 1-inch curve going in and then a 1-inch curve coming back down and keeping it consistent all the way around and up through the corners. So definitely worth the battle though. It looks fantastic. That is done. Came around on the inside. Got it all welded up in there. Can't see it very well, but where is it? Got the wiper motor in and a nice little bracket up against the firewall for that. So I'm gonna go grab the steering column, try to get that fitted in here, and then we'll move on to Willwood, and then we'll get the vintage air box mounted and get the front end of this back together, motor in, This is the new I Did It steering column. Getting ready to slap that in. Hopefully we got the right length and everything. It is designed for a 62 to 65 Nova, so it should work perfectly. And then the U-joints and everything else that we got from DSE should also work with it. I've got a few of the original parts here. This is the plate from the Firewall, which I don't know if we can use or not. This is the U-bolt bracket and bolts from the original dash, and then this is the other piece to go up against the dash. So we're gonna go ahead and slap this thing in and see if everything fits, works together. If it does, then we can start figuring out where the brake pedals are gonna go, because that pretty much tackles everything that needs to be in a specific spot underneath the dash. The pedals could move right or left a little bit, everything could move just a hair, but this column needs to be right where it needs to be. So we're gonna go ahead and get her moving. Alright, so now this, 2 inches on the caliper, this exhaust pipe, hair bigger than that 2 inches. So I'm going to slice a chunk of this off, slide it over, make a mark, and then I'll weld the flange to this and weld a couple of nuts on it with a hole so I can tighten to that column, and this will make that sit nice and stiff down there at the bottom. Okay, got these 2 pieces welded together. Drilled a couple holes in it. I'm going to weld a nut on both sides in the hole so that when we tighten these 2 bolts up, that'll actually clamp the steering column in. Once I get those on, I will move this piece up over here, slide it over the column, and then weld it right to that flange right there. And the steering column is done. Alright, there she is, boy. I got the column in, all welded up. Nice and tightened up on the inside. Close up the gap up top up here. Yeah, she looks beautiful. Last thing I gotta do is put the knuckles in and connect that to that. So after an hour or so sorting through the boxes and pieces and parts in the other room, I did find all the Borgeson steering knuckles and the shaft for the steering, so we can get that hooked up. Then all I need to do is pop a little C-clip off of here because I want to get the little horn ring off of there, and I've got a makeshift old steering wheel upstairs, and then this thing will actually steer on its own when we go to move it around. And then we're going to start filling in all this space underneath the dash here before we get all the holes welded up. The radio will be getting deleted, the ashtray. We're going to change the style of the glove box so it doesn't wrap around the bottom. Be adding about 3 inches to the bottom of the whole dash all the way across that we will put all the vents and everything in. So I need to go up in there behind the glove box, get the vintage air installed, at least get the box in, figure out where I'm going to run the lines, and then go up underneath here now that the steering column and everything is in, and get all my pedals mounted. So I did grab the box with the vintage air. This should have the control unit, the air box, everything we need to go up underneath the dash, so I can get that opened up and out. And then I do have a big pile in the other room of Willwood stuff that should have all my pedals. So I'm going to get that going. While I was digging, I did find our transmission mount. So when the motor goes back in shortly, it'll be completely mounted on all of its isolators, and the battery relocation kit that we got from DSE, so we can get that locked down in the trunk. So one little step at a time. She is coming together. I am going to get this steering worked out and either slap the pedals in or start going to the heater. Not sure which yet.